Well, we popped into our local village, just outside of Austen actually, Chateau. Quite a famous village, I believe. Pub, the Grey Fire, the tea room. I mean, it really is. It's a small village, but everything happening there here. And it's a place actually I'm pretty sure Carol would buy a house here if we had the opportunity to. But the main reason we're here is because we've been invited to Jane Austen's house, haven't we, darling?
This very sleepy village of Chawton is the home of Jane Austen when she was alive. Many people know her for her famous novels like Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, and Emma. For me, it's all about Mr. Darcy.
Oh, it would be, wouldn't it? Typical. Well, for me, it's all about Jane. So we're going to have a look round. I'm actually really excited to see this building. This is a Grade 1 listed building, and the museum itself is privately funded, so it does rely on ticket sales, donations, etc., and grants. So we're going to go and look at the building. Now, Grade 1, for those people out there, is top of the chain, and basically it means it's an historical building. Our cottage was Grade 2. I think it's about, I don't know, it might be 8, 9, 10% of buildings are Grade 2 listed, but Grade 1 listed, of all of those, yeah, Grade 1 is about 2.5% of the listed buildings. So very, very minority, this building. But let's go and have a look round and see the sort of work that they're having to do to maintain it.
As you can see, it's closed to the public. We have a very
exclusive.
Can't even get in. Exclusive tour.
Yeah, except you're not allowed in.
So welcome.
Yes, this is the first part you see when you come to Jane Austen, up to the shop, which we're hoping to meet a few people to show us around. And hopefully we'll see some of the grounds as well. What a day, couldn't have asked. You know, we've had rain every day for as long as I can remember I've been back here, but today, glorious. But I've got no idea where we're going.
Lizzie.
And there we go. We're going to see Lizzie and we'll talk you through later. So currently we're actually in the courtyard, or the orchard as they call it. They've just done
fruit trees.
Hence the fruit trees, which they've just done funding and raised money to start revamping here. We'll explain, actually, I'm going to ask Lizzie to explain in a minute. They're actually going to be doing a funding to try and get the roof repaired on the building I'm looking at now. So I'll get her to explain that in a minute. So first thing you notice, Carol?
The beautiful wallpaper, which Lizzie has just told us it was.
It's the replica of the original that Austen would have known. So we are really lucky in this house that we have 3 of the original wallpapers. We've had fragments of them have survived down to the present day. So this, when I say original, this is a 500-year-old house. So often which originally are Austen era wallpapers. There's one in here, there's one in the dining room, and one upstairs in the family room. And this one was known about since the 40s when the house first opened as a museum. There were fragments of it found on the wall that faces onto the street because it had been placed onto wet plaster, and that's how it survived. And so it's been known about for a long time. You can see,
see it framed
those are
over
the
there.
original, the fragments framed
Yes.
there. So, and then we worked in the run-up to the 200th anniversary of Austen's death, which was in 2017. We worked with amazing wallpaper restorers, Hamilton Weston, who were able to restore and reproduce this beautiful wallpaper for us. So this one is called Chalk and Vine, and it's gorgeous.
And do you know how much this costs to
I
reproduce
do.
them? And are you going
I
to
do
share
know how much it costs.
Because when we looked into replicating the salon wallpaper, it came to an astonishing 17,000 euros.
It does cost a lot of money. And these ones, because they're hand block printed, they are done in a very similar technique to the original. They're incredibly labour intensive, so they do cost a lot of money, I'm afraid. But they are very beautiful, and I think these historic wallpapers have a real life and joy to them. So they are incredibly beautiful.
It is stunning.
Lovely. It is.
How much?
I wasn't doing it, but I do. It does cost. You can purchase it, and it does cost upwards of £300 a roll.
Yes.
So it is a real artisan.
Yeah, ours was 17,000 for only 7 rolls, wasn't it?
That is a lot.
But yeah, it was a lot.
But like you say, it's the hand printing. It's layer and layer and layer.
7 layers.
Building it up to get the depth as well.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's an extraordinary process, and the dyes and the colours are really interesting.
We did go to the factory to see how they did it,
That
but
must have been amazing.
it was.
just couldn't afford it.
It is a lot of money. And what's interesting is the colours are so subtly, and I often describe this room as being gilded. Even though you can see there's not really anything gold. There's a big gold
There's
picture
not,
frame over there,
yeah.
and there's a few brass candlesticks. But there's something about the way the light comes in through that gives this real glow. It's just really, I love this room. It's really beautiful.
So this is like the cell in this room with the wallpaper, and I did notice that they have pretty much the same shutters that we put on our windows. So they have the box system that goes in and then pops out the sides. It is absolutely the same as a lot of the chateaus, with single pane windows. The only being difference, they're sash windows. Lovely with the sunshine coming through, it really is warm. Have you found Darcy yet?
I'm still searching.
Oh, I
Mr.
did.
Darcy. Yes, I just thought I'd have a spot of breakfast.
Oh, it's
first.
Mr. Darcy now, is it?
This is the dining room, and you have the replica of the paper, which is flocked as well at the top around the trim. But this is her writing table where she wrote secretly in the window for light. See, it has 12 sides, and apparently she did it secretly, so no one knew what she was up to, I believe.
Oh, it's a nice, manageable, small room, this, which means it stays warm, unlike our big high ceilings.
And if you come around here, there's the bonnets on the chair, the old bonnets they used to wear back in the day.
Well, it looks like we're staying for breakfast then.
And the extra wide floorboards, you'll notice.
Yeah, they're in very good condition. Admittedly, they do a lot of upkeep here in this place. But yeah.
Nice match where they've been moved from, but why they moved.
So this is the family room, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just commenting again on the floorboards, the creaky floorboards, which we all love. It's all part of the character.
And again, it's like Versailles, because the sun's so bright coming through the windows, this is just had to close the shutters for specific reasons, mainly the white porcelain.
Yeah, we've got some miniatures based on ivory, so they're
really
really
beautiful.
really, really gorgeous. And it's Austen describes her writing as being a work of art on ivory. She paints with a small paintbrush on 2.5 inches square of ivory. And it's really interesting because a lot of the first biographers sort of went, oh, she's just small and she knows what she's doing. But when you look at what she's actually comparing her work to, they are so lifelike and they're so beautiful. But they need a bit of protection from the light. But they are really, really lovely things. So we've got quite a few collections of them. It really enables those faces from the past to come to life. So we look at the people that Austen knew, which is really lovely.
I've also noticed in here, within the shutters, you've got the plastic or the glass. For what specific reason is that?
So this is to be able to show some more of the original wallpapers. So we've got more in here. So this is another one that was known about since the 40s. And this one's really interesting because it kind of really shows the Austen women who are living here, their social position, because this wallpaper is a second. So where it's hung, you can see in this reproduction is sort of what I would call a rather ungainly upside down dead spider.
I was just wondering what that is.
It should be the sepals and leaves around a rosebud. So it should have a rose. This is the proper version that was sold and was the main one. But we believe that they had a second, so which doesn't include the rosebud. The rosebud was missed off the printing of this one, and so it was hung upside down. So it's kind of an
Easily done.
economy. It's an economy measure. So they've got enough money to have wallpaper, and it's really lovely wallpaper. It's sort of the equivalent of silk ribbons crossing over each other in a trellis. So it's really, really pretty. But they can't quite afford. They've got a bargain. They've got a bargain with it in the road with this kind of hanging thing in the middle of it. But it's a really pretty. This one's a really pretty paper. This one is only 2 blocks on it. Well, probably it should have been 4 because there should have been a rosebud block on it, but the rosebud block was missed on these rolls in this room. So they got a bargain. And in here we've got pictures of Austen's family members and both relations.
So this is Edward, her brother.
This is Edward, her cousin.
Sorry, her
Yes,
cousin.
this is Edward, her cousin. So this is Edward Cooper, and he was, like lots of Austen's relatives, he was vicar, and he wrote quite fire and brimstone sermons that Austen wasn't quite sure of. So there is a suggestion that he is an influence for Mr. Collins in Pride and Prejudice. But he also quite looks like the guy who plays him in the 1995 production as well, which
That
is
is
a lovely
my
coincidence.
favourite Jane Austen film.
Yes, it's just the correct answer. It's us. Three do also love it in the house here as well.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't even call that a single bed, that. That's like our cabin bed on the boat we get over. One roll and you're out of it. Oh, creaky floorboards.
I'm just looking at all the delicate lace on the bonnets.
Oh, okay.
And this is a day dress. It was worn by the character of Jane Austen, played by Anne Hathaway, in 2007 in the film Becoming a Jane. I don't think I've seen that one.
Well, you know what you're doing tonight then. I've just been showing this in one of the rooms, and I want someone to tell you all about it, the quilt.
So this is one of my favourite things in the house, and it was made by Austen and her mother and her sister Cassandra in about 1810, 1811, and it's a really, really amazing piece of art actually, and I'd be very proud if this was the only masterpiece that came out of the house, apart from all those novels that are read all over the place. And you can see it's been really, really, really carefully planned. So if you look at the big red diamonds, you can see they exactly mirror on either side. So it's, as well as it being an amazing work of craft and art, it's incredibly considered. And I think that really reflects Austen's writing as well. Her early biographers kind of tried to make out that she just sat there and the words flew around, the words just came out. Whereas actually she was a really passionate about her writing. It was a real calling and a real professionalism for her, and I think that sense of dedication and craft, so that everything is perfect, even in really small details, that is in Austen's writing, is also in this quilt. So there are about 2,500 of the small diamonds around the edge, and it really is, with the wallpaper, I think it's really important because it really gives a snapshot of the art and design that Austen was surrounded by. So some of this fabric will be old, some of it will be late 18th century, some of it's going to be early 19th century. There's probably offcuts from their clothing. We know the date when she's writing because she writes a letter to her sister Cassandra saying, "We've run out of bits, you're staying somewhere, can you bring some bits of fabric back?" So it's this real snapshot, and although I don't know if you can call something this big a snapshot, it's almost an encyclopedia of the textiles and designs that was surrounding Austen. And we're hopefully going to do a lot more research into this to find where some of these prints and these things were coming from. But it was really interesting. I ordered some fabric the other day that is, again, block printed, made in Rajasthan today, and the print is almost identical to what's in this. So you've got this long continuous textile production. So watch this space with the quilt. We are hoping to find out a lot more about, technically, I always get this wrong. I always call it a quilt.
Yeah.
Those that
Well,
sew.
it's a quilt.
It's
It is
a
a
quilt.
quilt.
We say it's a quilt because it's a shorthand. Technically, it's a coverlet because it's not actually quilted. Because I know there are a
No,
lot
you
of
can see
very
it's quite thin.
it's very thin. I know there are a lot of very passionate quilters out there who would
Just shot you for
I would
saying
be in
that.
trouble for getting it wrong. It's not actually quilted.
So whose bed would this have laid
We
over?
think this had probably been on Mrs. Austen's bed, their mother. She was the real matriarch of the family. So what we call the family room, the family probably would be Mrs. Austen's room. It was the biggest room in the house. She had 8 children and she had 30 grandchildren. So she was very much at the heart of this family life. So probably would have had a
Wow.
big bed and would have had.
No
It's
TV.
a large piece. Of
So the information about this is obviously on your
we
website,
do, yeah.
which you'll update, you're saying, as you find.
As we find out more.
So
yeah,
we'll
Jane
plug
Austen's
that.
House. You can have a look, and there's information about all of our highlights of our collection on there. And this is definitely there. So yeah, it's a real personal
Excellent.
favourite of mine.
Welcome to the bakehouse.
After you.
Come on in.
You need to learn how to cook.
Pizza.
Yeah. So this is
That's
our.
like our bread oven in the
I thought
cottage.
you might have
Yeah.
one, so
You did.
I thought you would have done with
Yep.
the tufts across the 2 cottages. So I thought it'd be really interesting to show you this. So yeah, this was being used for making bread for centuries. The house still had a bakery right up into the mid-20th century, and this would have been a really important part of the house. Jane Austen probably wouldn't have been in here very much. This was definitely kind of the preserve of the washerwomen. Washerwomen would have come in externally. Monday was wash day in the UK.
My granny used to
Yeah.
think one day was wash
One day
day.
was wash day, and they would have had washerwomen that came in. And so this is the copper for boiling all the hot water. The well is really conveniently just outside the front door, so you would. And the Austen did a lot of brewing. They liked to make some alcohol. There is a recipe book in the house. It's called Martha Lloyd's Household Book, and there are all sorts of recipes in there. And all through Austen's letters, they made mead, orange wine, spruce beer. So to get a lot of hot water warm, they would have used this copper. So
And
it's
they have a
really
tip box as well.
we do have a collection.
What is this?
I think it's very old. It's been there a long time, so it does need a little bit of restoration. Actually, it needs, as does this entire wing of building. So this is one of our next projects. We amazingly, thanks to support from people from across the world, we were able to fundraise enough to restore the roof of the main house between 21 and 22 over that winter. And our next project is going to be to restore this wing because it needs doing. It's really old and it needs a new roof. And then once we've got a new roof, we can start to bring the amazing stories of the people who worked here to life. We've got to fix the roof first, and then once we come down, we can start to talk about these people whose stories are lost, really. I always find it really fascinating that the woman who lived across there, there's so many words written about her and so many books and so many things, but the women who would have worked in this space, their stories are kind of lost. So that will be our next stage once we fix the roof, to start to put in a living history project that really can bring those things to life. But yeah.
So this funding, this is something that will be on the website
It
again
will
that you
be,
mentioned.
So, yeah, if anyone wants to be part of the story
And
of
why wouldn't
the
they?
Race House, why would it? It's such an important. Well,
Yeah.
I am obviously very biased, but it's an important space and it's got important stories to tell, and to continue to preserve it is vital. So
Definitely.
yeah, across our social channels and on our website, there'll be information about how you can be part of the story.
And we'll put a link there for everyone to see.
Thank you.
I've just seen this rhyme.
Oh, yes!
Written by Mrs. Austen, Jane's mother. Oh, can
Yes.
you read it to us?
I can.
Well,
Well, I'll try and get it. I will try.
Tongue-tied.
So this recipe is in Martha Lloyd's household book. So Martha Lloyd lived with Austen and her sister, and she was their sister-in-law, and she collected all these recipes. And this comes from in this, and this is a receipt for a pudding. So they didn't say recipe at the time, they'd say receipt. And there is a story behind this because we think that Martha was having a romance that didn't quite work with a vicar. So this is what this is about. If the vicar you treat, you must give him to eat a pudding to hit his affection, and to make his repast by the canon of taste, be the present receipt your direction. First take 2 pounds of bread, be the crumb only weighed, for the crust the good housewife refuses. The proportion you'll guess may be made more or less to the size that each family chooses. Then its sweetness to make some currants you take, and sugar of each 1/2 pound. Be not butter forgot, and the quantity sought must be the same with your currants be found. It's a bit of a tongue twister. But cloves and mace you will want, with rose water I grant, and more savoury things if well chosen. Then to bind each ingredient, you'll find it expedient of eggs to put in 6 Some milk don't refuse it, but boiled ere you use it, a proper hint this for its maker. And the whole when complete, in a pan clean and neat, with care recommend to the baker. In praise of this pudding, I vouch it a good one, or should you suspect a fond word, to every guest, perhaps it is best, 2 puddings should smoke on the board. 2 puddings? Yet no, for if one will do, the other comes in out of season. And these lines better bay, nor can anyone say that this pudding's without rhyme or reason. Thank you. I did that.
And how many times have you said that?
A few, but it's really interesting because you can kind of see the things. There are amazing cookery books that have been based on this. So there's one by Pen Bogler called Dinner with Mr. Darcy, another one by Julian Gare.
I'd love Dinner with Mr. Darcy.
It's good. It's good.
It's not going to happen.
And Jane Austen cookbooks, so you can go through them, and there are modern day recipes. I mean, just to follow this is. Okay, we've got 2 pounds of breadcrumbs that we know, and then but guess how much it is, and then some currants, and we've got 1/2 pound of sugar, so that's the only actual measure.
Wow, I'm
and
surprised I got into
1/2
those
dozen of
courses.
eggs, that's it, that's all we've got. We know we need 1/2 dozen eggs and 1/2 pound of sugar. I mean, no length of how long you bake it or anything, so, but there are modern recipes, so if you want to have a go at cooking the food that we know Austen eat, check out any of those recipe books. They're brilliant, and they're usually really gorgeously illustrated. And then you can make a pudding. What is lovely about the rhyme is you can tell that I just read it straight because I don't quite know some of the rhymes are really interesting, and they would only work if you had quite a strong Hampshire accent. In praise of this pudding, I vouch it probably should be in praise of this pudding, I vouch it a good one. But it's probably how it was read aloud because it doesn't quite work. So you do get one of these, when you do read, there's quite a lot of Austen family poetry. Mrs. Austen wrote a bit, Jane wrote some, her brother James wrote quite a lot as well, and you do get a sense of accent coming through with the rhymes, which is really lovely. Yeah, it's good.
Hampshire hog.
Hampshire hog. Well, this would have been for hanging pigs for salting as well.
Moved on to that one. What's for dinner?
That's a good segue through to there, but
Well, I hope you all enjoyed the small tour. There's so much more to see if you go on their website, which I'll put a link, and Beth will put a link in. But we do want to say a big thank you to Lizzie.
thank you for coming
very
to
much
see us.
indeed. Thank you for letting us have a look around and letting everyone else see
And
it.
all the years that I've lived here, and that's a lot.
Same. We've never been.
You know what?
Bread.
It's
Born and
really
bred in
normal.
Autumn.
It's really normal. You never go to the places that are on your doorstep. You go away, don't
No.
you? When you want a trip, you go away. One of Austen's novels, her heroine said, "You'll never find adventure in your own village. A young lady's got to go outside to seek it." And I think we're all the same when we go on a trip.
It's
We
true.
go,
Exactly.
we go further away, but there are amazing places like this on everybody's doorstep. And
Yeah, we go to France.
Yeah, exactly. We go further away.
And there's a
we
place
do
on our
this.
doorstep.
So yeah.
So if
Yes.
you come to England, make sure you come to Hampshire,
Yeah.
Chawton, and come and check out Jane
Yeah.
Austen's house.
There's
Come and see
lots here. I mean, there is
there is.
Gilbert White House.
Gilbert White's
Which is not far
gorgeous.
away.
Chawton House is just
Correct.
up the road. There's acres and can you describe
Yes.
acres of history? centuries of history in Winchester. You can go to Winchester every weekend for a year and you'll still find something new.
Which we do.
We do.
There's
Yeah.
so much history in Hampshire combined with amazing natural beauty. So yeah, rent a cottage, explore the South Downs, come and see our history.
Well, that was a great morning. Unfortunately, you didn't get to see.
I didn't know. But at the end of your tour, if you do come and check out Jane Austen's house, you can go across the road to Cassandra's Cup, obviously Cassandra being her sister and mother's name, for a nice tea and cake, and they also do bed and breakfast.